Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We are discussing in our recent lectures about review of literature, how to move about it, how to conduct literature review, what are the sources from where we can get access to research papers, journals or books. And in yesterday's lecture, or in previous lecture, we have discussed about how we can have access to various sources of our literature. So we have talked about primary, secondary and tertiary sources, and then we talked about how do we access journals. Then we also talk about what are academic and peer-reviewed journals, how can we access them, what are the various web links, databases through which we can have access to these sources. We talk about book and its importance. We also talk about journal and their importance, journal research articles and their importance. And we also try to see how can we clarify our keywords and search terms, how can we not misspell them, why not use jargons, why to avoid misinterpretative terms, why to avoid abbreviations or acronyms but use common standard abbreviations and acronym, and how these things help us find our concerned paper or journal book chapter or anything that we have to have access to, or that is relevant to our research questions or topics, and also the objectives that we have set. So this is one of the very essential part of literature, and once we know the sources from where we can have access to our data or the literature, then we will be in a good position to start our literature search. This will actually help us to understand few basic things. Few basic things are that we have to understand that we are searching certain key terms or keywords. We use search terms to retrieve the literature that we need. We use keywords that help us to find the literature that is much more relevant to what we are doing. This is one of the very important aspects, that defining and refining keywords are of essential importance. If we are not in a position to find some nice keywords or search terms, we will not be in a position to get relevant articles, for example, or get relevant book chapters that are related to our research topic. So we have to be a clear-cut idea of what we are working on, number one, why we are working on our objectives, and what kind of literature we are looking for. Once we are clear about it, based on these things, we have to define our key terms. These key terms should be spelled rightly, should not include jargons or terms that are confusing, and we have to understand the language aspect also. Are we looking for something in English? Are we looking for something in Spanish or French? So we have to understand how can we have access to various sources. Once we know, for example, we have also discussed that HEC Digital Library is one of the important thing. If your university or if you have access to this library, you can have access to Web of Science, you can have access to Taylor and Francis, you can have access to Elsevier, you can have access to Science Direct, Springer, and many other databases where you can search for the journal papers, where you can search for the book chapters, where you can search for dissertations and number of other material that can be of help to you. And the third thing that we discussed is basically tertiary data sources. Tertiary data sources includes catalogs, bibliographies, dictionaries, encyclopedias that we can have access to, and we can use to manipulate, to think about, and to get some basics about the research topic that we are working on. We are not giving details of these things in this course because they are of importance when you're writing bigger projects, when you want to start from the very basics and you need some very basic idea or historical idea about the particular thing. Definitely you can have access to these things, but I think at master's level or at graduate level, when you're writing your MS dissertation or MBA dissertation, you don't need much of these sources. So the most important thing for your graduate level dissertation or research paper is primary and secondary sources, which includes journals, books, conference proceedings, abstracts, and all these kind of available sources through various databases. Once we are in a position to define our keywords, search terms, using various criteria that we have pointed out, and we are in a position to link them with our question and research objectives, then we will be in a position to conduct literature search. When we are in a position to conduct literature search, then we will start using these keywords, what to find, how to find, where to find, all these simple questions. So once we are in a position to start or conduct our literature search, we are in a position to get access to various articles, book chapters that are relevant to our research topic. And today we are talking about conducting literature search. Approaches for conducting a literature search can include searching tertiary literature sources that we have discussed, obtaining relevant literature, scanning and browsing secondary literature, and searching using internet. These are the 4 ways we can use to start our literature search. So for example, we can also have search in tertiary literature. We can start using dictionaries, we can start using bibliographies, we can start using abstracts or encyclopedias where we can get basic access to a topic. For example, financial economics or financial globalization, or marketing and advertisement, marketing and stock prices. So we can start searching from one or the other tertiary source to start the basics of that particular topic. And when we are in a position to search the tertiary literature, we can also be in a good position to obtain relevant literature. Relevance of literature is very important stuff, because we have to understand first what is our topic, then we have to understand what is the research question, the main research question that we want to answer through our research topic, and finally we have to understand what are the objectives that our study is aiming for. When we understand these 3 important things, we will be in a position to find what is relevant to our topic. We have to be very precisely clear about our topic, research question, and objectives. And when we are clear, focused about our research objectives of the study, we'll be in a good position to get relevant literature. Scanning and browsing secondary literature. Secondary literature we can also search. For example, we can see the dissertation that are available in the library. We can also see the ongoing research that is going on by your senior researcher or tutor or supervisor on the topic of your interest. Or we can search journals, book chapters, journal articles, peer-reviewed articles, and we can have access to them. And we can also see the relevance of these articles with that of our own research. Finally, we can also search using internet. We can search through Google, we can search through Google Scholar, we can search number of other search engines that are available. I'm not going into details of these search engines and all, but just to give you a glimpse that these are the sources or these are the ways we can use to conduct literature search. When you start reading book, which is recommended for this course, you can definitely find a table that explains what are the sources that is available. I am not explaining it here because few of the sources you might have already know. I can also explain them here, but I'm not going to give a detailed outline of what are the internet sources that you can use. You can easily see them in one of the tables in chapter of the book on literature review, and then we can also have some discussion here in our lecture. So now we will see how we can search using tertiary literature. How can we conduct a literature search using tertiary literature? we have to ensure keywords match the controlled language that is used. Search appropriate printed and database sources. What are the printed and database sources that are available to us that we can search? Are they appropriate? Appropriateness will definitely link to relevance, whether they are relevant to the research area you are looking for. Note precise details used, including search strings, what kind of search terms you used, and you have to note down the full reference of each search found. Whatever you find, you think it is relevant to your research area, you have to write the full reference of it. So these are the 4 important aspects when you start using tertiary literature search. So we have to see again the importance of key terms or keywords. They are very important. Once we know our key terms or keywords, we will be in a position to search through primary literature, to search through secondary literature, to search through tertiary literature. And in tertiary literature, keywords are very important because you are going through, let's say, encyclopedia, or you are going through dictionary, where your key term actually leads you to the particular page or reference where you have a relevant topic available. This is how your keywords can have an important emphasizing role when you want to search something in the books or bibliographies or dictionaries or encyclopedias. So keywords in that way help, because the language of, let's say, encyclopedia is indexed, so you have to use that index language. For example, you want to see financial globalization, so you have to have a specific keyword for that, and that is financial globalization. Then you can go into the index which is given in the end normally in the encyclopedia, or if you have an online encyclopedia, you can just write financial globalization and you will be in a position to find that particular term and relevant references. And if you feel there are some things that are relevant to your topic and you want to include them in because they are making sense for you, you have to see the full exact reference of that, and that you have to note down also, so that you don't have to repeat the same things again and again. You have to avoid repetition, because there are loads of information that can overburden you, and if you're repeating things again and again, that will be a waste of your time. We have also discussed that we have to strategize or plan our research strategy, because number 1, to avoid time consumption or wastage of time. Number 2, overburdening of information. In one of our lectures, these 2 were the very important points when we were planning a search strategy. And here again, it is important that we have to have a specific keywords that we can use to retrieve some literature that is available on our research topic, which can be of help to us and that is relevant to our topic also. We have to note down the precise details, including search string. So we have to write down what was the search term or keyword that we used and what kind of relevant information we got. When we note down these things, we will not be repeating the same search again and again, because you are writing your dissertation for 1 or 2 semesters, 1 year, so you can't remember on every second day or third day what terms you have used to search for the paper. So you have to note down which were the keywords that you used, how you used it, and these keywords can help you actually to go about finding the relevant stuff. So this is one of the important thing when you start searching tertiary literature. You have to ensure specific focused keywords. You have to search appropriate database sources, printed sources. You have to note down the precise details, also the string words that you have used, and you have to definitely note down the full reference of the source from where you get some literature. If you think that is related to your research, you definitely have to note down the full reference to avoid what we call plagiarism. You don't have to quote somebody's work by your own name. It is unethical for a researcher to quote somebody's work with his or her own name when it is not by him or herself. So you have to think once again that reference citation is very important aspect of avoiding this unethical culture of plagiarism. We have already discussed a little detail in our previous lecture, and we are also side by side discussing that why citation in the text that you are writing and references in the end of the research paper or dissertation helps you avoid plagiarism, which is an unethical practice. Conducting a literature search through printed sources, databases, scanning and browsing, and searching the internet. Printed sources, you can go and search. For example, if you want to search in the library where dissertations are already available and you want to search the literature through these dissertations, so what you can do, you can actually go to the catalog of that dissertations and you can see through various lists that are available or catalogs that what kind of dissertations are available, at what level they are available, whether they are bachelor's, master's or PhD dissertations, and how these dissertation can help us to find the relevant topic of your research. When you are in a position to decide about that, then you can also find that on what specific fields of studies these dissertations are available, whether your field of study is also available in there or not, included in there or not. If it is included, you have to be specifically focused on your research area. When you focus on that, you will be in a position to find few dissertations or more dissertations on that topic, and from those dissertations you will be in a position to decide whether you will be reading this or that dissertation and why. So this way you can have inclusion exclusion criteria with the printed sources. Same is the case with books also. Databases you can use using Boolean logic and free text searching. There are two things that you can use. One is Boolean logic and the other is free text searching. We'll talk about these two in detail because this is one of the very important aspects of literature search. You can scan and browse. You can see whether something is available in free Google search or not. Searching the internet, and searching the internet is also very important. Through various search engines we can also search that. What is Boolean logic and what is free text searching? The simple idea between Boolean logic and free text searching is that free text searching is that you can write, let's say, the title of the topic of your dissertation, for example, or the topic of your research. You can also write the question that you have put in. You can also write the objectives that you have put in, and you might retrieve some literature. While Boolean logic actually combines your keywords and search terms with that of some words like and or both, these kind of things. And combining keywords, for example, you want to search financial globalization and economic growth. You want to search financial globalization or economic growth. You want to search financial globalization and or economic growth. You want to search, for example, in US we use behavior with you, in UK English we use behavior without you, or other way around. So you have to see whether database is sensitive to spellings with you or without you. Like for example, the behavior, if you're writing behavior, behavioral change. So you have to understand that how you can search, because if you add you, there might be an answer that there is no word kind of things that is found in the database. If you add without you, it might be that because the spelling used with you, so you can't find. So you have to avoid these things, these sensitivities, and there are certain ways how you can avoid these things. So this can be explained using Boolean logic. And then again, searching, browsing on internet, that is one of the important thing. Internet is very important source. In the beginning we have also discussed about media, how media can help us to find various things, and one of the media is basically newspaper, the other is internet. Third one is definitely TV, with talk shows that can be used to understand the topic of our research interest. How people are talking about, what mainstream versus non-mainstream people are talking about that particular issue, how they are linking this issue with one or the other aspect of real life, and these kind of things that can help us to find some argument, some literature that is relevant to us. This is how we can see and we can use Boolean logic. These are the link terms on the left. On my left we have link terms where we have written and, or, not, then a star we call it truncation, and then we have question mark which we called wildcard. What is the purpose of this term? What are the examples and what are the outcomes? We will be discussing one by one so that we understand what is the importance of these simple single words in searching relevant literature, why we use these strings and why they are important. So for example, if we use and as a link term, for example, financial development and economic growth. So and is a term that we will using for linking the terms financial development and economic growth. So we linked these two terms using and. This is a link term. The purpose of this inclusion of and basically narrows the search. So it tells the search engine, the database, that you are interested in the literature which actually dealing with financial development and economic growth. So it narrows down the search to those literature which actually have to deal both with financial development and economic growth. So and term actually narrows down the search. For example, recruitment and interviewing and skills. So if you want to search these three terms, you can also use and twice. If you want to use two terms that I have given an example, that financial development and economic growth, you can also link three terms together. So you are searching recruitment, you are searching interviewing, you are searching skills, but you are linking them using word and. So recruitment and interviewing and skills. So this is one example how you can use and as a link term, and you can narrow down your search to particular relevant topic that you are interested in. So the outcome will be that the only articles containing all three keywords will be selected from that particular database. So if you are talking about ISI Web of Knowledge or Science Direct or Elsevier, so for example in Elsevier you go to the search, you click advanced search, and in advanced search you find these link terms, and you find various places where you can write terms. So you can write recruitment, you can say and, you can write interviewing, then you can say and then you can write skill. That will help us to narrow down our search to the particular research articles that have all the three terms, that is recruitment, interviewing and skills. And we can have outcomes of articles or relevant literature that contains all the three key terms. Second is or. If we use or, what will it do? It actually widens our search. So or always says either this or this, either that or that. So either or kind of condition, so it actually widens the literature search. So a recruitment or selection. So it is also a link term, but it actually, instead of narrowing to a particular thing, it actually widens our horizon of literature search. Financial development or economic growth. So recruitment or selection. Advertisement or marketing. So this is how you can use. So the purpose or outcome of this is that article with at least one keyword will be selected, while and will be used to find out all the key terms that you are including in it, whether they are 2 or 3, and or is used to retrieve articles that contain at least one of the keywords, either recruitment or selection. either financial development or economic growth, either marketing or advertisement. So this is how you can use and as a link term or as a link term to narrow down your search to particular relevant literature, or to widen your horizon to find more indirectly related articles to your research. Not can also exclude terms from search, right? So for example, recruitment, not selection. So for example, those papers which use selection as key terms cannot be included. So not is using to exclude term. What is the outcome of that if you use not? So recruitment, not selection. Selected articles containing the keyword recruitment that do not contain the keyword selection. So the outcome will be that it will show us, retrieve the literature that has the term recruitment and not the selection. So it can only include the term that we want to include. And the important thing is that you have to include the term first that you want to search. So if we want to search recruitment, we have to write recruitment, not selection. So if you want to search selection, we have to write selection, not recruitment. So the first term is included, while the second or the third term, if we include three terms, they are excluded from it. So for example, recruitment, not interviewing, not skills, means that interviewing and skill terms will be excluded, while recruitment only included in it. So this is how we can use and or not to link terms and find our relevant literature. Truncation is also an important aspect that you can use. It uses word stems to pick up different things. So you write motivate without full spelling and you make it a star. So a star actually tells us or tells the search engine to find motivate, motivated, motivation, motivating, whatever the terms that can be used for that particular word. So in the fourth line you can see that truncation, that is adding a star to some certain words, actually advises the search engine or the database to search whatever terms that are available relevant to that particular term. So here is the example of motivation. So motivate. So motivate, motivation, motivating, motivated. These all selected articles will include one of these terms, or maybe more than one of these terms. So truncation is also important to retrieve. So for example, if you write only motivation, you might get motivation. But if you use truncation term, so there are papers who used motivating, there are papers who use motivated, there are papers who use motivate. So all these kind of search terms will be retrieved through this truncation thing. And then there is wildcard. So you have to pick up different spellings. So instead of behavior with you, you want to search behavior without you. So this US UK differentiation in English spelling. So with Z or with S, sensitize, IZE or ISE. So these kind of terms you can search by using this term wildcard with a question mark. Where you have confusion or where you have a spelling change, there you can use the question mark. So for example, in behavior, after O you either use R, or you either use U or you don't use U. So here you can actually use question mark, and that basically uses either behavior with OR or behavior with OUR. Same is the case with sensitize. So IZE, so instead of Z, because it can also be ISE, so instead of Z and S you use question mark, and that question mark guides the database or the search engine to look into sensitize with Z and to look into sensitize with S, because there are certain journals, peer-reviewed journals, academic journals that ask specifically to use British spellings, and there are certain journals that ask to use American English. So if this is the case, in one database you might have journals that use British spellings and that use US spellings. If this is the case, in some way if you write behavior and you search, you might find behavior with OUR but not behavior without U, and sensitize with IZE but not with ISE. So that wildcard question mark thing can help you retrieve all the research papers using that database with American or British English. So this is one of the important aspect. Again, simply summarizing the Boolean logic, we use link term with our keywords to retrieve literature, and these terms actually help us to understand how we can get access to relevant literature. We have various link terms that are and, or, not, truncation, star, and question mark, we call it wildcard. So these 5 or 6 things can be used to specify our search term or keyword, and that help us to retrieve the literature that we are looking for or that is relevant to our research topic and objectives of our research. And, or, not, truncation, that is star, and wildcard. And they are important because they link one thing with the other, they include or exclude one thing or the other, they try to find various terms within one word, motivate, motivating, motivated, this kind of thing, and they also try to find various spellings like British or US spelling. So this is how we can use this link terms to find our literature with our keywords. So keyword we define, we use these link terms, they are already available in the databases search engines where we can write our keyword and then we can choose from and, or, not, whatever we want, and then we can write the second key term, and this is how we can retrieve our literature. Rest of the things we do by ourselves. Search engine databases ask us how long you want to search, 10 years, 20 years, all the years, limited to 5 years, last 5 years, 60 to 1980, something like that, whatever we are interested in. We can choose those choices. This is also one of the very important thing. And why we have to understand that? Because these simple, small link words, link terms can change your research all the way. And narrow downs or widens, not includes first term but not the second term. Truncation searches for various similar words, motivate, motivating, motivated. Wildcard uses both, whether you are linking the term with or looking for the term with ISE or IZE, you are looking for a British spelling or American spelling. This is how, and you have to see where you have to put these terms. So and is always first word, between first and second word, and between second and third word. Or is always with similar, like between first and second word and between second and third word. Not is always between first and second, second and third. And truncation is always with at the end on the top you have to put an asterisk or a star mark. And wildcard is where you have confusion, whether you have to put U, Z, S, you don't have to put U. So from example we have put behavior, instead of U we have put question mark. So it searches behavior without U, and the database also searches behavior with U. Same is the case with sensitize. So instead of Z we will put question mark. So the database search engine will definitely search sensitize with SE and sensitize with ZE. So this can be helpful for us to search all the relevant material that is related to our research question. This is how we can use or make use of Boolean logic. This is a simple diagrammatic picture which tells us about how we can search through internet. If we get answer to one question, we can move further. If we don't get answer to one question, we cannot move further. I just want to show you one or two things so that, for example, this is where we can have our specific site addresses known. When we decided to search internet, we have to understand that whether we know the specific site address, the URL, for example www.sciencedirect.com, www.elsevier.com, do we know these addresses or not? So let's see the channel with yes. If we have an answer yes, then we can move and say that okay, let's have access to internet, and access to internet decides whether we can enter the site or not. And when we know that we can enter the site, we can actually see whether we can have access to site or not. So you can open sciencedirect.com, the site opens, so you see that you can enter the site. You want to find, for example, a paper that is relevant to your topic, you go down, write the search term, you find that paper, and then you see that you can have access to site, and you can bookmark the site that appear useful. You have to bookmark it in your profile or in your favorites, and then you have to note down the full address of all material. You have to note down the full address of all material you intended to reference and the date accessed. So this is how you used internet search. When you decided to search through internet, you have to understand that whether the specific site addresses are known or not. If yes, then whether you have access to internet or not. And if you have access to internet, you have to see whether you can enter the address of the website or not. If you can enter the access of a website or not, then you can see whether you have access to site or not. Then you have, if you know that you have access to site, then you can also use, for example, keywords free text or by selecting a topic. So keywords can be used, and then you can bookmark the site that appear useful. If you think that site is useful for you, you can bookmark in your favorite so that you can come again and look at that website. Instead of just deleting it and then searching whether you remember the URL or not, you basically can save it in your favorite so that you can access it in there. What you can do for your simplicity and ease of access, in your favorites you can find a folder where you can write the site address, where you can name folder the literature reviews, search sites, or something that can make easy access to you for various links that you save in your favorites. And whenever you find some nice site or search engine that you think is helpful to you, you can save in your favorites in that particular folder. And that is how you can have a directory of various sites where you can search your literature. Whenever you need, you can just directly go to your bookmarks or favorites, and in that particular folder, and you can find the various links there. You can open them in one click, all of them in one click, or you can open one by one and see which one is you are looking for. So this is the answer if you know the specific site. What if you don't know the specific URL addresses? Then you have to ask a question to yourself: are there specific keywords and clear topic? If you know that you have a clear keyword and topic with you, then you have to think again whether you have access to internet or not. And if you think that you have access to internet and you can have access to internet, then you have to answer, is there a need to control the range of sites retrieved? So instead of searching through a particular site like sciencedirect.com or isiwebofknowledge.com, you can just write the keywords or topic in Google and you can access to some sites, and you can then decide, is there a need to control the range of the sites retrieved? Whatever you get out of that, whether you have to think which site is important or not. And if you find, is there a need, if you go to yes, then you have these things in your pocket. Try journal search engines, good for keyword searches, control range of site. And in this way you can also move from keywords to access site, and then you can save if the website is useful to you. You can also save, note down the full address and the date accessed. What if you have an answer close to no, or you have answer which is no? Try meta search engines, good for searching multiple sites, less easy to control site retrieve. So this is how you can actually start moving, snowballing your search term. What if you have answer no to your research question, that is, are there specific keywords and a clear topic? And if you have no to this question, you can actually move to another question which says, is there a general subject area or topic? Do you have any idea of which general area or subject topic you are interested in? If you give an answer to it yes, then you will definitely know whether you have access to internet or not. If you have access to internet, then you definitely have to answer, is the subject topic defined clearly? You have to answer this, and when you have to answer this in yes, then you have to think about these. Try specialized search engines, cater for specific subject areas, need to define subject topic clearly. Try information gateways, good for academic subject areas, often well evaluated. What if you know that is subject topic defined clearly has an answer which is no? The subject topic is not clearly defined. Then try subject directories, good for broad topic, hierarchically organized subject area. You have to think what subject area you are interested in. Definitely the third part is not the case in your case, because you already know you are doing your MBA or Masters or a research study on that particular field of study, because you are specializing in, let's say, marketing, human resource management or any other specialization. So the broader field of study you already know. Now you have to answer whether your keyword search term topic is decided or not. If yes, you have to see through whether you have access to internet or not. If you have access to internet, whether you know the URLs or not. If you know the URLs, you have to access the site and then you have to save them in your favorite. What if you don't have any answer to the third question, which is there a general subject area or topic? If you say no to it, then you have to go down and see that you have a problem which can tell you that your search is not defined sufficiently. You have to define your search sufficiently, because you don't know what is your topic, you don't know what is your specific keywords, you don't know the clear objective, and you also don't know the journal or broad topic or research area. So if you don't know anything about that, you cannot start search. So first, when you decided about this searching internet, you have to answer one by one the three things, that are the specific sites known? If yes, then you have to start searching. Are there specific keywords and a clear topic? If yes, then you have to start searching. And finally, is there a general topic area or research area? If yes, then you have to start searching. And if you give no to them, 3 questions, and you answer no to all 3 questions, then you have to search, define, search not defined, then your search not defined sufficiently. You have to think about defining your search sufficiently. This is how you can use internet by getting access to literature that you are interested in. And for that reason, you have to answer the question that you want to answer. Key terms already defined, search question already defined, objectives are there, access to internet is there or not, how to retrieve the literature from various sites. You have to save them in your favorite so that you can retrieve them again. You have to write on what date you used what key terms and what you have accessed. So this is how you are not in a position to repeat that thing again and again. So that can avoid your wastage of time, and then that can also avoid overburdening of information for you. So this is very important aspect of deciding the research or search through internet. And internet can be a very helpful tool in today's world, because most of the things we can find online. So why to waste our time going to libraries, why to waste our time going to various libraries and places where we can have published material, when everything is accessible in your desktop or laptop? Why can't you do search there? And for that, you have to be specifically clear about your topic, your research question, your objectives, key terms or keywords that you want to search in, and then you start searching. It's better to ask some databases from your tutor or supervisor or peers, so that you can have access to that databases. And through that databases, using Boolean logic, you can narrow down your search, you can widen your search, you can find various terms, you can also retrieve literature that uses British or American spellings of English. This is how few things are linked to other things, and then you can have access to journals, book chapters, various published and unpublished material. Evaluating the literature. We have evaluated the content of literature review. We have evaluated the criticality in literature review, and we have to evaluate the literature now. These 3 things are different. What are the contents when we write literature review? We have to evaluate them differently. What is the critical nature? Where is the criticality or the critical nature of literature review? We have to evaluate it differently. And evaluating the literature, we mean that when we start searching something and we get some literature, why we include this literature and why we are not including that particular literature. So we have to evaluate it. We have to define the scope of our review. We have to assess relevance and value, and we have to assess sufficiency. When we can assess these 3 things, we are in a position to evaluate our literature, and we can define and refine our literature. So these are the 3 important things. A scope we can define when we write our research questions and objectives. And based on these things, we can define that we are going to do this and that kind of literature review with this and that kind of literature that is available, and we are objectifying or aiming at looking at these things. We can assess the relevance and value. Why we want to include this article or book chapter but not this one? We have to assess whether it is relevant or not. If it is relevant, whether it is of value to us or not. So when we do literature review, we have to understand that the paper that we are reading makes sense for us or not. If it is relevant, is it adding to our knowledge or not? Is it giving some more ideas to understand our own research topic or not. So this is how we can assess relevance and the value of that particular search that we have find. And is it sufficient to include only these kind of papers and not these kind of papers? So we have to assess the sufficiency also. We have to assess and define the scope of our literature review, we have to assess the relevance and value, and we have to assess the sufficiency of our literature search. When we are in a position to define a scope of our literature, assess relevance and value, and also assess sufficiency, we will be in a position to evaluate whether our literature makes sense for us or not, whether it will be helpful for reader to understand in a better way what we want to convey to them or not. And if this is the case, we have to be sure that we have assessed it or evaluated the literature for our literature review in a nice way. We have to record the literature. When we start searching, we have to record the literature after evaluation. These are basically the steps of circular upward movement things that we have discussed. Research objectives and questions, to parameters, to search terms and keywords, conducting literature search, retrieving some literature, evaluating it, that we have discussed in our previous slides, and now we are talking about recording the literature. Make notes for each item one reads or the researcher reads, and record bibliographic details, brief summary of content, and supplementary information. Bibliographic details we have already discussed in our previous lecture in a nice table where I have provided you the bibliographic details of a journal paper, of a book chapter, and an edited book volumes book chapter. In journal paper, we have talked about that we write the name of author or authors, and then in the brackets we write the year of publication, then we write the title of the paper, followed by the title of the journal, which after that we include the volume number, issue number, and then we include the page number, let's say from 23 to 47. And for page numbers, some journals we write P dot and then we write page numbers. In some journals we follow P dot and we write page numbers. And in certain journals we don't write P or P dot, but we just write page number from 23 to 47, for example. So these are the bibliographic or biographic details that we have to write. And then we have to write the brief summary of content, let's say abstract, or let's say some important points that we think help us to understand the paper if we want to see it again after, let's say, 2-3 months. And then we have to provide supplementary information if it is available to us, and if we can access to that supplementary information, we have to provide them so that we can note down these things. And after noting down these things, we will be in a position to understand where we can have access to. Supplementary information can be the web URL link of that paper. We can have DOI of that paper, that is digital object identification. So if we have that number, we can just enter into the Google and we retrieve that paper. If we have URL link of that paper, we can also save it so that whenever we find it, we want to find or search, we want to search it again, we can search it again. So this is how we can record various things from a retrieved literature, for example a journal paper or book chapter, and we can save them so that it can help us understand our relevance of literature to our topic of interest, so that we can see them in our future search when we write literature search, when we write literature review and we want to critically evaluate it. Bibliographic details, brief summary and supplementary information, that is also an important thing that we have to record. And today we are ending the chapter which talks about literature review, and that too the critical literature review. We actually understood that we understand also that the critical literature review sets the research in context, and we have to understand what is our topic, what kind of objectives we have, what is our research question, focus of our research question, where we can find literature that is available to us, how this can help us to understand our own research terms and areas, and how we can define them further or refine them further. So this is how it sets the context of the research we are doing, the literature review or critical literature. It leads the reader into later sections of the report. We have already discussed that we have to write literature review in a way that leads the reader or the person who is reading that to other parts of the report, so that they can have not lose their interest when they read the literature review. Begins at a general level and narrows to specific topics. We have also talked about that it starts generally. We have talked about the funnel thing, that it starts from a broader perspective, and as it moves down, it comes to a narrow focus, to a specific particular focus topic. Three main categories of sources: clearly defined research questions and objectives, defined parameters, use of techniques like brainstorming, relevance trees, and all these things. So we can have primary source, we can have secondary source, we can have tertiary source. So these are the three sources of literature search. We must have a clearly defined research questions and objectives. We have to have defined parameters, and we have already discussed what are parameters, how we can define them, what common mistakes we do, why to avoid these things. We have to have use of techniques, brainstorming and relevance trees. We have already discussed in our previous literature about brainstorming and relevance trees. We stop here, and today's lecture was about conducting search through internet, through published material, and through internet we have seen that we have to answer few questions based on which we can start our search. The most important thing in this whole review of literature chapter as well as today's topic is that we have to note down whatever we are doing. If we are writing a keywords, let's say recruitment and selection, we have to note down that we have already searched recruitment and selection term using this or that database or website, using this or that ways of keywords, and this was the date and time when we searched. When we record this kind of information, we will not be in a position to repeat the same search again using the same database. For various databases you can use the same term, but for the same database you cannot use this term again and again. This can avoid wastage of time, and this can avoid overburdening of information for you. Saves your time when you note down specific steps that you have taken while you are searching through internet. Also saves down your time when you note down the specific step you have taken while searching through published material, let's say dissertation in a library or in the department's library where you're working in. So this is how you can avoid wastage of time, by noting down various information that can help you understand that these steps you have already taken, and that can also reduce your information overburdening and helps you to search more and more relevant articles and retrieve literature that helps you to understand your own topic, the gaps that exist, and what is your contribution to that particular area of research. Literature review and critical literature review is a very, very important aspect of your research. You have to start your research with this, and that is the most exciting, interesting and scientific part of your research methodology. If you understand that part, and if you take steps to initiate and materialize and ensure the credibility and criticality of the literature review, you will be in a good position to write a dissertation that makes sense for not only you and your supervisor but for the readers, and you can also be in a good position to publish that research in quite decent journals. I stop here. We'll start our next lecture with next step of our research methodology, and thank you very much.